Welcome to our Team Leader Overview video. This video provides an overview of how a team leader will benefit from our software. As a team leader, my main responsibility is to make sure that all resources are working on billable projects, and this should be true as often as possible so that my team can generate the highest degree of billing it can. Other responsibilities include tracking the project portfolio and ensuring that projects are delivered on time and within budget. So let's get started using the system. I log on as team leader and I come to my dashboard and I see this big yellow box, which is my to-do list. It lists all of my business duties and responsibilities that require my attention now, such as a timesheet that is pending team leader approval. If I scroll over or click on the top item, the timesheet item, I see that this is the timesheet that needs my attention. So we'll click on it. We'll click on the time period. Here's the timesheet. As team leader, I will approve the complete timesheet, including all billable hours, such as the Shermer High School project, as well as non-billable hours for internal projects, such as the administration project. Here I see all the hours themselves. Here I can see any red flags. Here is one. The 100 represents the estimated hours. The 135 represents the actual hours. The actual hours is greater than the estimated hours, so it's flagging it. And the 35 hours represents the actual hours from the resource him or herself. Here I have my standard rates, $190 per hour for consulting, $50 per hour for travel time. I can override those rates just by clicking here. And if I look down here, I see wage accumulators. I see comp time, overtime, and vacation time. If everything looks good, I can scroll back to the top and click this green thumbs up button to submit for approval, which I'll do. Let's go back to our dashboard. Now I see there's only one item left that needs my attention. It's an invoice. In our database, it's been configured so that project managers are the ones adjusting and approving invoices first. If their adjustment is higher than a predefined threshold, then a team leader needs to get involved in the approval process. In this case, our project manager made an adjustment of about $2,000, as we see right here, and this is obviously higher than the predefined threshold, so now I, the team leader, has to get involved in the process. So let's click on the invoice. Here we see it. It's yellow. It says project manager has approved it. Here we see our adjustment column, and the first -6 hours. And the comment from the project manager is that there's been a misunderstanding, another -6 for another misunderstanding, and a -4 for too many hours. And I would look through all the comments and look at all the adjustments, and if it looks good, I will click the green submit for approval, which I'll do. When I do that, the little box turned green, and now it's been team leader approved. So go back to my dashboard. Now I see my to-do lists are gone, so I have fulfilled my business-related duties and responsibilities as a team leader. Yay! So now let's look at my team leader dashboard. I am defaulted to the resource dashboard, but I can just very easily and quickly click on the team leader tab, which brings me to the team leader dashboard. And now I see a bunch of charts and graphs, all of which give me a lot of information into my teams. And down here, I've got a team performance chart, which graphs the billable time ratio for me in a nice little graph right here. If I want more detail, I can just click on this chart, and voila, right here appears a list of the actual billable time ratio numbers per month for the last 12 months. I've got a list too. I can click on this, and here we have, for all of my resources, billable time ratios for 3 months. I can X out of this. Another important tool for team leaders is monitoring key performance indicators, or KPIs. I have a tab here for projects and for resources. I'll click the resource tab. This allows me to track resources and metrics across time periods. I can select the actual time periods here just by clicking and scrolling down. This gives me a lot of overview and, of course, insight into the metrics for the resources and for the projects. This ultimately gives me more control of what's happening on my projects. We have another tab here called Plan. We'll click on that. One of the biggest issues that team leaders are faced with is keeping track of the resource allocation for projects in coming weeks. So when we click on plan, we've got a great chart. We have this gray area down here which represents non-billable internal projects, and I can just look at it and see a spike right here in January. And when I do a little investigation, I find that in January we're doing a pretty large internal project, which explains the peak here for the non-billable hours. The pink represents proposals, and in the yellow here represents billable hours. So here in January, I also see that I've got a lot of proposals that are outstanding, yet my billable hours is dropping quickly. So I want to spend a lot of time and resources here converting these proposals into approved, accepted, billable projects. We can close this chart out. Now it's very important as a team leader to staff projects. I'm in charge of the engineering department, so here under company I've got engineering. We'll click on engineering and I've got demand and staffing. So this allows me to quickly see what the current demands are. So I just expanded demand, and I've got a couple of roles here that all need my attention. We're going to scroll over to the future, which will be for us in this case January and February, and I see there's 100 hours needed for the drafter role for January and also for February. So let's look into this. If we expand drafter, we see all of the projects that requires a drafter, and I see that there's only one project that needs the 100 hours. It's the Shermer High School project. And this is for both January and February. As team leader, my job is to staff projects with the best available resources. So the software, of course, lets me do just that. So I'm going to click on staffing, and now I can see all my staff, and we'll scroll down a bit here. And I see the only drafter is Jake Ryan, so we're going to expand him. And let's assign Jake 100 hours here in January to this project. And we'll assign him 60 hours in February. And if I look back up here, I see, here we go, let's see, we'll scroll back up. And I can see here that for January, for my drafter, now the needed hours is 0, and for February it's 40. In the staffing section, which we'll come back down to, and we'll close Jake, in the staffing section, I can see if my team is working on the projects that they're supposed to be working on. I can compare estimated versus actuals in the first 3 months, and I can see that here, estimated versus actuals. And then as time goes out, so months 3 through 6, I now can compare estimated versus availability. So let's look at an example. We'll look at Gary here, and I see for November, his availability is 56 hours, and in December, it's 22. 56 hours is a lot of availability. Let's put this guy to work. We want him on billable projects. So we're going to expand Gary and look at the projects that he works on. And I'm going to put him in this Emirates project for 50 hours for November, and we'll do 25 hours for December. And when I look back up here at Gary, his availability for November is only 6 now, and his availability is -3 for December, so he's actually over allocated for the month of December. I can plan in more detail if I want to, such as weekly, by just clicking on this weekly tab. When I do this, I see all of my projects and all of my resources here in weekly. The weekly and monthly tabs are synchronized, so I can enter information into either, and it gets automatically populated in the other one. So now I have the ability to plan in a lot of detail or just a little bit of detail. There are also other ways to present resource allocation. If I were to click up top here on resources and then on capacity overview here and now on weekly, I can run a report for a particular time period, and I'll just take the default. And the report that this generates it gives me the allocated capacity of my team in percent for the next coming weeks. So it's very visual, makes it very easy to use. If I'm looking for an available resource who has a particular skill, let's say a database expert, I can do that as well. I can go back up here under resources and now available resources and weekly. And I'll run a report for this particular time period. And now we've got a great chart of all my resources by skill, and so I look at database, and Mel here is available 40 hours for the coming week, so he is my man. As you can see, our software provides many tools that allow team leaders to be in total control of their project at all times. Thank you for listening.